Today we're back on the Stories About Kevin subreddit and it's going to be so fun. I've really missed this subreddit. Every single time we've made videos on here, it's always been so fun. So yeah, we're going to read about people being very stupid and I hope you guys have a wonderful time. When Kevin confuses me with his mum. My freshman year of college, I started dating a guy who turned out to be a major Kevin. We met at a party and he seemed nice enough and we hit it off. I thought he was kinda sweet in a dorky sort of way and he paid a lot of attention to me, and me being a dumb girl right out of high school, I thought it was cute. After a couple of weeks we started dating. I was barely 19 and he was 23. This was several years ago, so I don't remember every single Kevin moment, but his general behaviour seemed totally devoid of regular common sense. His dream was to be a neurosurgeon and was getting straight A's in advanced ANAT and physics classes and chemistry classes, so he obviously wasn't stupid. He was just a Kevin. A few of the examples of his Kevin behavior: I was a performance major and he couldn't understand why I wasn't okay with making out in practice rooms. Every time he would try, I would say, I'm not doing this in a practice room, and he would heave a sigh and back off. But the next time he knew that I was practicing, he would come to see me and try again. Like somehow it was the timing that was off and not the fact that we're in a public building in a hallway of rooms that are used day and night by performance majors, and that all the doors have large windows. One time he came to watch one of my performances but showed up late and somehow entered through the backstage door instead of the main auditorium. In the middle of the performances, he sees me and starts loudly calling out to me. What? He couldn't understand why everybody was hushing him, and later when I asked why he didn't go through the main door, he said, I didn't realize there was a difference. Once we went to the store together to grab some dinner and we were passing the candy aisle, he suddenly stops what he's doing and starts grabbing every large box of chocolates off the middle shelf and shoving them into his cart. I'm talking armfuls of large boxes of chocolates. I stared at him in confusion for a few moments and then asked, what are you doing? And he says with an excited look on his face, these are only $2. He was looking at the sign for the items on the shelf above, which were tiny bags of single-serve candy. When I pointed this out, he argued with me for several minutes about it, even though literally everything else in the store has the price listed directly under the product, not over it. Yeah, wow, that is pretty stupid. He would often talk about how he couldn't understand why his ex left him because I even bought her a puppy, as if that was the solution to all relationship issues. Oh, that's so funny. He couldn't understand how his personality, DUIs, and respective boundaries played into any of it. He would always go back to, but I bought her a puppy. Turns out his ex never even wanted a puppy. About a month into dating him, I went home on Christmas break, and that was when crap hit the fan. After everything was over, I found out that he'd been planning on driving to my hometown, about 5 hours away, on Christmas Eve so that he could surprise me Christmas morning by proposing. This never ended up happening because we got into a fight. He started saying I love you at the end of our phone conversations, and I wasn't okay with saying it back. I told him I wasn't there yet. When I explained that I wasn't comfortable saying I love you yet, he blew up at me over the phone, saying that the fact that I wasn't ready to say it back to him was evidence that I was cheating. What? I was shocked since it was the first time he'd ever been angry with me, and he went right to cursing me out and calling me all sorts of terrible names. Oh, that's awful. I hung up crying, and about 30 minutes after, he called me back with the typical, I'm so sorry, I love you baby, I'll make it up to you, garbage. I went home and I talked to my mum about it because I was shook. She convinced me it was a major red flag and to be cautious moving forward. The thing is, my dad has the same temperament and was extremely abusive to my mother and us kids, and I did not want to be with somebody who reminded me of my dad in any way. This is where the title comes in. Kevin seemed to have the opposite idea of dating somebody like his parents. After we were officially dating, he told me what originally drew him to me was that I reminded him so much of his mum. Now, obviously, that's a turn off, but then I met his mum and I have no idea what similarities he even saw in us. We were nothing alike, but he kept on pointing out things as if they were obvious. Random stuff like you both have long hair. Ugh, what? And both of your favorite colors is purple. And your cooking is so good. At first, I brushed it off as a weird quirk or something, but this fight put everything into perspective for me. When I called him back finally, I tried to explain that him saying I love you holds a lot of weight and commitment to me, and that I wanted to make sure it was how I felt before saying it. He kept on arguing about how he couldn't understand why I couldn't say it back to him, that it feels totally natural, and that he just doesn't see how I don't already feel that way about him. I asked him, what does saying I love you mean to you? Like, what makes you feel you want to say that to me? Then Kevin says the most jaw-dropping thing I've ever heard out of a grown man's mouth. Well, I say it to my mum, so I feel like I should say it to you too. What? Ugh. This 23-year-old adult man thought that because I was so much like his mother, and he loves his mother, then that must follow that he loves me. I told him I needed to think things over and to please not love bomb me. I wanted a few days to clear my head. Rather than respect my request, he kept sending me flowers and texts. About a week after Christmas, he sends me a package. It was his Christmas gift to me. One was a burned CD. This was in the early 2000s. Of all of his favorite songs, not mine. Not the songs that we like together, just his favorites. The second item was a pair of gaudy dress-up earrings, the kind that a 5-year-old wears when she wants to play princess. They were in his favorite color. Also, I don't wear jewelry that much, as I dislike it, but the jewelry that I do wear is always small and dainty, because that's what I like. If I wear earrings, they're like small studs. If I wear a necklace, it's a small chain with a little charm at the end. I'm not a flashy person, so these earrings were appalling to me. The last gift in the box was a picture in a frame. The frame was Christmas themed with Santa Claus and trees and reindeer all over the outside. It looked like it came from Walmart after Christmas on a 50% off clearance rack. It was not cute at all. The picture inside was of him dressed in a suit and a tie, standing in front of a Christmas tree smiling. He looked like he was getting a middle school picture taken or something. It was the last bit of nope that I needed, and I ended the relationship before I came back at the start of the new year. After everything went down, my sister told me that he'd reached out to them before our fight to ask if he could spend Christmas Eve night at their house so that he could get up early and come over to my house on Christmas morning to propose. She had originally agreed, but once our fight started and she found out some of the things that he said to me, she sent him a message saying, "What the hell is wrong with you?" after he cursed me out. She explained to him about my abusive dad and about how that was a terrible move on his part and how she's not sure that he could ever come back from that unless he seriously grovels. She ended with, "OP doesn't want to date her dad." His only response to all of this was, "It's a good thing I'm not her dad," with a winky smiley face. Last I knew, he's been married and divorced several different times, still living in the same small town working as a delivery driver, and every single time his profile picture changes, there are about 6 versions of the same picture because the first 4 or 5 are all oriented either upside down or sideways. Wow, that was such a good way to start the episode. Some of that was funny, some of it definitely was not, but yeah, sorry that you had to deal with this, OP. Like, we're reading about it, but you actually had to go through this. Yeah, no thanks. The next one is called Kevin Almost Ends Up Legless. So recently my new co-worker is a Kevin. I've never thought I'd meet one, but here we are. It's a call center job, and for what it's worth, some processes are fairly easy to understand, but Kevin has a hard time to grasp any of it and can take up to quadruple the time to do so. He's a nice guy, but man does he blow us away with his stories. He can recognize in some level that he is a Kevin, but his misadventures are seen by him to be just bad luck. 2 major instances are when he almost died, twice. Once when he was in sports and wanted to get buff and healthy, and knew that he had to consume protein and meat and dairy and all that good stuff. Well, what more efficient way than just to throw protein, creatine, raw meat, milk, veggies, and eggs into a blender, and then chug it down every day. After a month, he ended up in hospital, almost with liver failure due to the messed up, unprepared combination that he was scalping. He just laughed it off, thinking he did a minor oopsie. The other one was when he almost ended up losing his legs. He ended up going to Finland for a school program, and for a recreational activity, they went on a trail hike in winter to some mountains. So we're from Mexico. Cold temperatures here around 8 degrees Celsius, 46 Fahrenheit if you measure with football fields. Snow is not something that we're used to. He'd already had some weeks to get used to the snow in Finland, but was really naive. He saw that the rest had geared up with boots to make the hike as any sane person would, considering the hike was a couple of hours long, in below 0 degrees Celsius, but he'd seen a couple of people in town on warm days with sneakers, so he thought, yeah, his boots wouldn't be necessary. Oh, Kevin. Nobody really noticed his sneakers, as you don't due to high snow and minding your own step, when he started to feel some discomfort from his feet, but didn't really give it much thought. After several hours, his soaked and freezing feet were killing him, and almost reaching the destination, he finally spoke up. Of course, people were surprised that he didn't wear his boots, and they sat him down to take his sneakers off to see if he had any injuries. Nope, worse. Both of his feet were already black due to freezing. They were stunned, and Kevin was like, whoa, dope. That's funny. Not realizing that he was about to lose his feet. What the hell? The group just rushed down and sent him to the hospital as soon as possible, and he had to recover for more than a week. Doctor said that if a little bit more time passed, his feet would have had necrosis and would have needed to be amputated. And no, he wasn't a kid. He was almost 18 when it happened. We're still trying to comprehend how he's still alive, but hey, at least we have more stories to look forward to. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. That is so unbelievably concerning. Like, what do you mean you almost had to get your feet amputated? Like, that's so awful, and I feel sorry for them, but at the same time, how does that even happen? Or how do you even let that happen? These are funny, but also terrifying. The next one is called I Work With Somebody Who Has Kevin Tendencies. I work overnights as a security guard. One of my co-workers is a great worker, but if you ever talk to him about things outside of work, he has some wacky ideas. Here are a couple of instances. Keep in mind that he's in his 60s and not senile. Number one, we were talking about a movie that would watched recently, and I commented that the CGI was really good. He got mad and yelled that CGI didn't exist because quote-unquote computers can't generate images. Okay, I don't even know why you would believe something like this. That doesn't make sense. Number 2, the subject of teleportation came up, and I was talking about how it didn't exist yet for humans, and he said that it's been a thing for about 50 years already because they do it in Star Trek. What? No way. And they're not joking. So they think that Star Trek is real, and also that teleportation is real. Can we please arrange an interview? Oh my god. Number 3, we recently watched the new Indiana Jones movie separately, and I commented that the way they made him look younger for the movies was ingenious. He told me that they actually traveled back in time to film Harrison Ford. He also believes that the time travel in the movie was 100% real. Yeah, I don't talk with him about stuff outside of work now. How is that a real person? I'm so happy they are though. It makes me happy knowing there's a 60-something-year-old guy out there that believes in teleportation and time travel and thinks that Star Trek is real. That's incredible in the worst way possible. Like, you know, Harrison Ford actually time traveled back in that movie. He went back in time in a time machine and filmed the new Indiana Jones movie when he was younger. How amazing is that? I feel like you could have so many entertaining conversations with this person. Like, they sound so fun. The next one is called Stop Repairing Our Computer, Kevin. Most of us have that one family member that's either entitled, an idiot, or both. I had a cousin that was both until the police humbled him years after this story. I'll call him Kevin for the usual reasons. This was during the early days of Windows XP, to give you a rough timeline of the era. Something like once a month, Kevin and his girlfriend would visit. If the weather was nice, we'd all sit outside for a chat, but after a while, Kevin would vanish and then not return. After a while, one of us would go and do the usual checkup to see if the missing person had fallen down the toilet. Sadly, no, he was missing. A quick check and he'd be found on the computer. Whenever I found him at the computer, he'd have some sort of program running or scan, or he'd be using Windows Explorer to search for files. What are you doing, Kevin? I'd ask him. Just cleaning junk out of your computer. If he was running a program that did what CC Cleaner did, before CC Cleaner was a thing, I can't remember the name, or he'd reply by saying, I'm searching for spyware files that spyware scanners don't find, just before Windows Explorer finds what he was looking for and promptly deletes it. Those of us old enough to remember the days when prank and virus and malware scans were going around. Basically, they said that so-and-so file was dangerous and it should be deleted, but as soon as you delete the file, Windows breaks down in one way or another. Now and then he'd be having trouble downloading and installing a program because Norton was blocking him. Yeah, these were the days when Norton was good, before they became malware like McAfee. He would try to get Norton to let him do what he wants, but I had it set up with a password, and when we refused to give him the password, he'd give up. As I'm the only one in the family that had the most computer knowledge, I was the one that did the maintenance and repairs and upgrades, even being asked by relatives to check out their computers. I ended up being the one to undo whatever damage he'd done. Usually it was a simple uninstall of whatever he managed to install, and then run scans. The usual AV scan, the popular spyware scanner at the time, and Windows System Scan. However, twice he broke the computer so much that I was forced to do emergency backups of files and reinstall Windows XP. During all of this, we'd tell him something along the lines of, stop repairing our computer, Kevin, because he'd always say that he was repairing it for us. After the second Windows XP reinstall due to his repair attempt, my dad eventually told him that if he goes on our computer again, then he'll no longer be welcome at our home. He moaned that he was only trying to help, but took the hint and never went on our computer again. He did try to convince us now and then of a new threat, a new virus or malware prank, the pros of a new program, that sort of thing, but got nowhere. Eventually, he stopped visiting on a regular basis. Oh, that's so frustrating. Imagine somebody coming over all the time and getting on your computer and messing stuff up. That's so annoying. Like, hey buddy, don't do that. You're actually making stuff worse. The next one is called Kevin and Kevin nearly blow themselves up and damage the fridge trying to bake. So this one was when I, female, was in university and my ex and his flatmate were both Kevins, but in a way that made each other worse and increased the potential for Kevining. Yeah, you should never mix Kevins. For two really smart guys who were studying physics and computer programming, there were so many times when I questioned how neither of them had died. The best one was when a flatmate got into baking and wanted to make a caramel cake. Instead of making caramel the more labor-intensive way, my ex had suggested they take a can of condensed milk and submerge it in boiling water, creating a sort of pressure cooker effect. At least that's what I think they were doing. I was coming over to visit, got to the landing and heard a bang like a gun, crashing and swearing, and the fire alarm coming from the flat. Two guys are running around waving tea towels, swearing at each other and at the bomb site that is now the kitchen. There's molten milk and sugar on the walls and ceiling and cupboards and door and window. There's a 3-inch long piece of shrapnel that used to be part of the can embedded in the fridge door. Both Kevins are running around trying to figure out how this even happened and how to get the molten sugar off the surfaces. To this day, I have no no idea why they thought this was a good idea. Okay, this one's interesting because that is actually a way of doing it. Yeah, like the top comment says, to be fair, that is a common way to make dulce de leche. They just messed up the process somewhere. And OP said, okay, but how did they make it explode? That part I've never quite worked out. Yeah, they must have had the water way too hot or something. So they had the right idea, but they definitely messed up something. The next one is called Kevin Thinks He's a Shopping Genius. This story dates back about 10 years, but I recently remembered it and I thought you guys might enjoy. I worked retail at the time, GameStop to be exact, so you might be able to guess what kind of guy Kevin was. He was never abusive to the staff, but he was super annoying. Some honorable mentions: tried to negotiate prices on brand new AAA titles, spent hours hanging out at the counter, chatting up staff and other customers, tried to hit on all of the female staff members, tried to convince male staff members to be wingmans in above attempts, tried to go into the back room to find something because he was a friend of the house and could do that. Eventually, Kevin was told that he was no longer welcome and we would refuse service if he did come back, unless he'd seriously changed his behavior. About 2 weeks go by and then Kevin walks into the store. There were 3 staff at the store, me, co-worker, and manager. Manager was in the back, we were in the front. My co-worker politely but firmly tells Kevin that he's not welcome. Kevin acts totally surprised and tries to tell us that we must have him confused with somebody else. He insisted that he'd never even been to this store before, never seen any of us before. His name wasn't Kevin. He called himself Kevin instead. With none of his arguments working, Kevin became frustrated that his brilliant plan wasn't working and then uttered the words, "Well, you need to get the manager. He knows me." Yeah, the manager was not impressed either and told him to leave as well. Oh, that's so funny. Like, what are you talking about? You don't know who I am, and I don't know who you are. You've never seen me before in your life. It's me, Guy Incognito.
Who is Homer? My name is Guy Incognito.
The next one is called Kevin Almost Burnt Down the Hospital. Kevin was an inpatient with some behavioral difficulties, was always refusing unusual meds for made-up reasons. I am allergic to corn, so no blood pressure medicine today. The weatherman said that one will make me fat, or it's a leap day. Okay, Kevin. About a week into hospitalization, Kevin is begging me to let him into the pantry, and I tell him it couldn't be closer to dinner time, that food is imminently arriving, and that there is no real pantry. Should have been covered. Minutes after the fire alarm goes off and we have to call a code, Kevin is off the chain laughing. It turns out that Kevin has had spice this whole time and has been looking for a way to use it. He ripped the cord out of the water cooler, left the cord plugged in, and used the sparking wires to light off a blunt. God damn it, Kevin. Wow, I was so confused for a second. They had a blunt on them and they were using sparking wires to try to light it, and in doing so they set the fire alarms off. Like, what were they thinking? Were they even thinking? Doesn't sound like it. Like, oh my god, of course you can't smoke in there. That's so funny, but also not. The next one is called My Father Kevin. The one Kevin you'll never forget. My dad is the Kevin in this tale, and my mum is the Kevin handler. Much of my childhood was my mum explaining, often in a futile effort, why Kevin's ludicrous plans didn't make sense. Now, some of these are secondhand stories that I know are true. There's a bit of a Kevin expanded universe of stories about dumb things that he did, mostly from my mum and uncle, Kevin's brother, but I'll only include the ones that I have some confidence are true. Even so, I think this Kevin gives the OG a run for his money. Kevin met my mum in high school, in a school suspension, which does seem like a good place to start our story. If your school didn't have it, an in-school suspension is basically being sent to the principal for an entire day. It's in between detention and real suspension. Even I got a few. Now, Kevin had been sent to the principal after blowing a centrifuge while messing around in a science lab. My mum had been sent there for smoking. As Kevin got up to leave for the day serving his suspension, he stumbled and put his fist through the principal's computer screen. This was 1999. So needless to say, that was not a cheap fix, nor was it cheap to fix a hand that went through an old computer monitor. Anyway, for whatever reason, my mum became friends with him that day, and eventually they got married. Without further ado, let's get to some great all-time Kevin moments. Kevin decided to buy a grill for the house and grill some beef on it. Unfortunately, he bought ground beef and couldn't figure out how to make it stick together, so he just threw the tiny crumbled pieces into the grill, where they burnt. In a fit of rage, he threw the grill and set the lawn on fire. That's right, he couldn't make a literal ground beef stick together. Oh my god, it's Homer when he's trying to build the grill.
How's your father's project coming along?
I think he's almost done.
Kevin's second grill-related incident, just last month, oh my god, happened when I was visiting home from college. So he figured what better way to welcome me back than with some steamed hams. Oh, so you're a Simpsons fan? Hell yeah, with some grilling. On a 30-degree day, well, 1 minute into it, he flopped his rotund belly onto the grill because he read on the internet that if your stomach is fat enough, it can absorb heat. It took him 0.5 seconds to realize that he was wrong. He also refused to go to the urgent care and is still recovering from the painful infection that he got on the burn. What? What are we reading? When I was younger, Kevin burnt his balls and had to go to the hospital. My dad goes to the hospital for accidents at least twice a year. Is this Homer? I'm only listing the really crazy ones. How did he burn them? He tried doing a stunt in the kitchen to impress the in-laws by throwing a cast iron pan full of frying fish between his legs like a basketball. Kevin insisted that he wouldn't bleed if he cut his skin around the veins. This was his justification for trying to perform a home tattoo with a ballpoint pen. The tattoo was E=mc². I kid you not. Kevin could not be convinced that a small fish could live in a small tank. He bought me a goldfish when I was 7 and insisted on buying a $1,000 giant tank, enormous tank for one singular ordinary goldfish and a filtration apparatus. Unfortunately, he set it up wrong, and on the first night of owning my fish at 3 a.m, the tank collapsed onto its side and smashed. Miraculously, the fish lived, hanging on in one corner. Rocky the goldfish would go on to live another 6 years in a normal bowl, which my dad was always kept a good distance from by my mum. Kevin had a pathological inability to understand the difference between a tornado watch and a warning. If you don't live in the Midwest US, a tornado watch is issued for like a 100-mile by 100-mile area, and it means tornadoes are possible for the next 12 hours. A warning means there's a confirmed tornado, and is usually issued for the area in the path, usually about a 5-mile by 5-mile area. This is a distinction that Kevin could not understand. Every single time there was a tornado watch, he would insist that we all go into the basement upwards of 10 days a year. It's pretty common in the Midwest, and he would peek out the window looking for tornadoes the entire time for often up to 12 hours. The last few years he's broken his tornado phobia a little bit, but not totally. Kevin does not own a single clock. He says that one shouldn't have clocks in the house because the ticking can cause cancer. Wow, okay. When asked if digital clocks are safe, he says they're even more dangerous because they also tick, just really soft. Kevin went to a Chinese restaurant and ordered dingus. He had to be reminded that the word was dim sum, not dingus. Given his reaction, he genuinely didn't know, and it wasn't a joke. Kevin refuses to read restaurant menus because if they have what I want, I'll order it. Otherwise, I won't order anything. This has resulted in him ordering 100% of the time, making the waiter or waitress explain every single dish. Kevin went skydiving with my mum and got the dive cancelled after 30 seconds before the jump because he jokingly said that his parachute pack felt too light, like something was missing. The dive instructor refused to dive afterwards. Even when my dad said it was a joke, he got a refund, though the instructor was probably a ding-dong too for cancelling. There was this old cook on TV from the South who used to say, "I guarantee," in a ridiculous Southern accent. Kevin picked this up, he's from Minnesota, and would not stop. "Can you get the dishes?" my mum would ask. "I guarantee." "Can you take OP to school?" He'd reply, "I guarantee." This went on for a month until my mum guaranteed to punch him if he said it again. My father tried explaining to me when I was 16 that I should really have a girlfriend by now. I told him I don't like anybody right now, and he suggested that if I didn't like my peers, I should pursue a relationship with their mothers. Thank you, Kevin. Very cool. Good old Kevin Sr., Kevin's dad, once lectured Kevin, in earshot of me, I was 14, that he should try to have a son. Kevin Sr. doesn't have dementia or anything. He just thought that I wasn't a real man because my hair looked like I was a bundle of sticks. I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. Kevin Sr., for context, was born in 1932. Kevin was born in 1982. I was born in 2003. Bit of a generational gap, lol. Kevin bought an enormous triple computer monitor, like a yard across, impractically large to use, and my mum was livid because he spent $1,600 on it, but the real fury came when it turned out it wouldn't work on our desktop. Why? It was a 2019 monitor setup, and the desktop was the 2006 toaster that Kevin had been using, with 2010 Linux that Kevin refuses to update. The monitor went to good use when he sold it on eBay and sent it across the country in a gigantic box without any padding, and it arrived smashed to bits. Kevin had to refund the whole cost he sold it for, $300. Kevin was astonished when my mum got a kidney infection because he thought only men had kidneys. It took him over an hour of lively discourse with a urologist to convince him that his wife wasn't intersex and didn't know it, except Kevin didn't use the word intersex. He said puss and prick. What? Kevin saw the humidity was 100% on a weather app and put on swim trunks because he thought that meant there'd be water outside. I didn't even know how to respond to this. My dad was once pulled over by the cops for speeding, 69 miles per hour in a 40. He made so many 69 jokes the cop wrote 68 on the ticket. Hey, he could be the Reddit mascot. But there was one final incident that I think really encapsulates Kevin. It was Christmas Eve and his mother, Grandma Kevina, had COVID. This was back in 2020. We were all together still because Kevina didn't believe in quarantine or isolating. My dad bought my mum a $700 piece of jewelry for Christmas. He didn't buy her anything else except for some stocking stuffers. Who buys expensive jewelry for Christmas anyway? Kevin, I guess. Anyway, Grandma was by this point coughing blood, but wouldn't go to the hospital for another 2 days, after which she was in for 2 weeks. We all got COVID from her too. But back to the story of doom. For poor Kevin's present is about to go boom. He wrapped it up in a hurry and stuck it under the Christmas tree. He'd thrown out all of the dirty, bloody masks that Grandma had left around. And I'm sure you see where this is going. The time came Christmas morning to open up gifts. And what does my mum get from Kevin? But a bloodied, filthy mask. Kevin was able to recover the jewelry from the trash, but not before making a legendary family moment. What kind of bonehead can mistake jewelry for a dirty mask? A Kevin. I hope you've enjoyed reading about my dad more than I've enjoyed experiencing him. Oh, that was so bad, but so entertaining. I'm completely convinced that your dad is Homer Simpson. Yeah, wow, that was amazing. And that's enough for today. Time for something wholesome. I'm a failure. I'm useless. I'll never amount to anything. My friend, even monkeys fall from trees. Wow, that's so true. You're not a failure, and failing is completely fine. It happens to everybody. Yeah, wow, that's so beautiful. Bring your kid to work day. Oh, that's so cute. We've read this one before, definitely. But it doesn't matter. It's beautiful, and I'm so happy to see it again. Beautiful little kitty cat. Current emotion. Dogs who are stuck but pretending everything's fine. Wow, that's so funny. Because they do that so often. The last picture is so funny. Like, yeah, I'm stuck, but it's okay. I'm happy. That's so inspirational. Like, even when it's not okay, it's still okay. That's so cute. Me stretching every other minute because my back hurts from carrying around this bomb-ass sense of humor all day. Wow, that's so funny. Like, oh my god, it's exhausting being so funny. You don't even understand the amount of effort that takes. On that funny note, that's enough for today. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you had a wonderful time today. And if you did, and you want to see more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And the comment of the day today goes to BR Waters. Oh, hey, I baked cookies on a whim yesterday too. I gave a bunch to my neighbor because I had so many. Oh, that's so awesome. We had a comment of the day the other day talking about baking cookies on a whim. And you're also doing it, BR Waters. That's so awesome. We should all bake cookies on a whim. Okay, I'm out of here. Thank you for all the support, everybody. I really appreciate it. Make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!